Okay, cellos, this is the cold of winter. I'm going to go over a couple different spots and then I'll play through the whole piece for you. So at the beginning, eventually, we want to try to add vibrato. So when I play through, I will add it. Don't feel pressured, but if you know how to do it, try to start adding it, especially to second finger, first finger. It will help those pizzicato notes ring rather than just kind of die off. And as we play the beginning, you'll have to be a little bit stronger the first two measures, and then we'll have to balance once the first violins come in. We're pretty steady until we get to measure 14 and we have that dotted rhythm. So starting in 13, you want to make sure you're counting very carefully instead of just watching. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3. If you start counting the eighth notes in measure 13, it just gets you set to count correctly for measure 14. Then, going from measure 22 into 23, again, it helps if you start thinking your eighth notes in measure 22. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. If you're already thinking those eighth notes, it's easier for you to place them correctly. Now here at 23, we have these big bows. Use a lot of bow. Use a lot of weight because it's forte. And using more bow will also help you once you get to 25 because then you have the string crossings. So lots of bow here. Pull, push. Don't be scared. Don't try to hide. In measure 31, we're still forte, so we want to use nice, big, full bows. In measure 32, you can see I've given you two options for fingerings. So the first one, the top one, we would shift up to third position. So where your fourth finger tape is, we would put our first finger. That just helps us skip or not have to do the skip over the D string. So starting from the F in measure 32, shift up to third position, first finger on that fourth tape, third finger, and then that way you cross right over to the G string, same position, first finger. And then when we get to measure 35, you play an open G and you move your hand back to first position. The other option for 32 is to play it in first position. It just gives you an awkward string crossing. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's possible, it's just not as smooth. So the position just helps us smooth it out. Starting in 35, this whole section up to 39 with the bowings, string crossings, you guys are the only ones with this exact rhythm. So big full half note and followed by the eighth notes. Be careful you slur two eighth notes and then separate the last two. And this is mezzo piano. So for these four measures starting at 35, you want to start close to your balance point. You're going to pull a lot of bow, but keep your bow tilted, not flat, so there's not as much surface area, and be a little closer to your fingerboard. Be very careful of the bowing in 37 because that's where there are two slurs. It gets a little funky, but it's just getting you set up for 39. So in 39, we start with a big up bow. Now here, this is fortissimo. So you want to move a little closer to the bridge. Still a lot of bow, but more weight and flatten that bow out. Just the trick to the slurs is at first pluck them. So you get used to your left hand moving over and setting the correct notes. Then slowly start to add the bow in with the slurs. Don't practice it by splitting the slurs here or else you might just form a bad habit. So always practice it with the correct bowings. I'm gonna play this whole piece for you. I have the metronome set to 84. One, two, 3, 4. at the end, you can see in that last two measures, we have the rit, so the ritardando, and we will slow down going into that. So that's 84. That would be our goal. It might help to slow this down, maybe practice it closer to like 76 and then work your way up to 84.